Hey guys, how are you doing? It's Catherine, and today I wanted to make a video to check in with you all because it's been a few weeks since I made our last video, and today is a little bit different. I don't want to promote anything, I don't want to sell anything. Instead, what I wanted to do is really check in with you about the state of AI, the state of technology, the state of what is now possible, the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us, and also the threats that we are seeing against us. And by us, I mean creators, marketers, humans, artists, anyone in the workforce. And I want to talk about the project that we've been working on, the SmorgDashboard, not as something promotional. I'm not trying to sell this to you in this video. Instead, I really want to talk about this more from the point of view of a case study that we have been using AI and our skills, our knowledge, our community. We've been working with all of these things to build this crazy set of products in a very short space of time. And I really want to talk about what this means in the current economic, social, political, technological climate. So this is the background. In December, I was working on a little project that I was calling an almanac. I started out with things like words of the year. What are the most popular words from 2025? And what does that mean for creators? So like brain rot, tradwife, K-pop, all of those words. How are they helpful for KDP creators, Etsy creators, and so on? I thought that would be a really cool project. So that was my initial concept for Smorg. I thought what I would do is just throughout January, I would drop a little report each day to give creators some ideas what they can work on with their projects. And I picked out some emerging trends that I could see happening in the data. So things like Italian brain rot. I thought that would be hilarious for activity books, coloring books. It's basically Skibbity Toilet kind of memes with Italian sounding names like Ballerina Cappuccina. Very, very silly, popular with Gen Z, and I thought picking things like this out as trends would be really fun for creators. So that was kind of my initial plan with this. So we had the report, and we used some of our skills to get KDP books. So we have the top 1,100 books from KDP, so you can see what's popular on KDP. And Isaac added a bit to this, so if you click on one of the books in here, you actually get more information on it. You can see how many reviews it gets, the estimated daily sales, and then you have suggestions for other books you could make in this kind of niche. We also added niches, and then of course we used AI to create definitions of these things and to generate more book suggestions for each niche, which I thought was really cool. And as you can see, something started happening around day 5, day 6. We started adding more and more to this. For example, with cats, we ended up creating a cat breed encyclopedia. So if we look at the Sphinx cat, you can see we have more information on this now. You have the breed personality, some marketing slogans that might work for the Sphinx. So we started adding a bit more to the Smorg dashboard as we went on. We started adding data from more platforms like Etsy, Pinterest. We were gathering data and including that here. So for example, if you look at junk journaling, you can see that we have a whole collection of the most popular products from Etsy that are connected to junk journaling. And you can search through those, browse through those. Now, day 6, we built a romance guide. We got all the romance books from Kindle, the top-selling romance books from Kindle. I think there's 1,000 or so of them here. And you can browse through these, find out what makes these romance books popular. And what we added on day 6 was a romance explorer. So we started adding elements from a romance. So for example, if you want to explore different character dynamics, you could explore co-workers. And you see here, it actually tells you how many searches co-workers gets on Google. So you can see how popular that dynamic is, how much people talk about it. and it gives you some tips on how to use it. They work in the same place, and the built-in conflict is that they have to maintain professional boundaries. Ah, interesting. So I could add that to my story, and I can choose a setting. So, for example, I could choose aquarium, and now our co-workers are marine biologists, and these are the opportunities for a story, that maybe there's going to be a special exhibit at the aquarium. There are feeding times when they see each other, and maybe there's a conservation sub-theme going on. So you can basically add these elements to your story, you can build this, and it actually combines the search volume to tell you how popular your book is likely to be. So this was probably the first app we put into Smorg that gives you a bit more than data and reports. Then we moved on to day 8. And for day 8, I really wanted to dip into public domain. In the US, anything published in 1930 dropped into the public domain in January this year, which means that there's a whole bunch of fresh opportunities for creators. You can take these paintings, these images from 1930, and you can turn those into notebook covers, handbag pictures, keychains, postcards, whatever you can think of. Those paintings are now yours to use. And so being an early mover on those 1930s images could be a really cool advantage that you have as a creator. So what we did is we created this app, and I think it has about 900 paintings in here. So for example, if we type in American, you actually get all these different images. If we look at America today, it tells you about this image. It gives you some background on it. It tells you what the subjects are of it, gives you links to go and search for more information, and it gives you some product ideas. You can grab the image there and you can go ahead and use it. We were really starting to see the value for creators in these apps that we were creating really, really quickly. So you'll notice that the Smorg started getting bigger and bigger here. In day 10, we did a bookshelf, and I think this has 9,000 books from the public domain. So you can take any of these books and republish them on Amazon. And for each one, you can go and read the information on it and you can download it. If we'd done this a year ago, it would have taken us a really long time. It would have taken us a few weeks to find all these books, to code this, to put it together. We made this in a day. So this is effectively a website that has 9,000 pages in it, generated with AI, that is really genuinely useful for creators who are publishing to KDP and who are looking for opportunities that are new in the public domain. So we started working with this concept more. We created a dream encyclopedia and we started illustrating that. And this is really cool. If you look at, say, taking an exam unprepared, now we start adding more to this. We've got a color palette, who's affected by this, product ideas, book and activity ideas that are based on that dream. If they have a search volume like this one, your teeth falling out, you have 1,900 people a month searching for dreams about teeth falling out. So this really helps you when you're creating to see what is popular and what people are thinking about. We also built out some encyclopedias. We got a flora and fauna encyclopedia. We created an encyclopedia of all the dog breeds, the cat breeds. And then on day 14, we started combining all of this. So I absolutely love this tool. It is a phenomena encyclopedia. So for example, one of my favorite conspiracy theories is the Russian buzzer. So if you search for buzzer in here, check it out. Now you have tons of information about the Russian buzzer, what it does, the cultural impact, notable characteristics. Now we've got some KDP book ideas, Etsy product ideas, and it's becoming a really big project. We also have public domain sci-fi books, much like the bookshelf. And we did this, the Strangish Files, which I absolutely love. This compiles government public domain data about UFOs. And of course, UFOs. Obama just commented about UFOs and it is trending through the roof. People are concerned about drones, UFOs, wormholes. There is information in here on wormholes that is government published information. See, traversable wormholes and stargates. And it links you to the government information on this, which you can use in your projects. Because in the US, it's public domain, you pay your taxes to the government, And they give you reports like this that you are free to use. So this is where we started having more and more fun with what we can build. You can really see the progression here. For fantasy, we built this beautiful magic world, so you could explore different world ideas, different character ideas, different archetypes. And I absolutely love all the monsters in here. So you can see how popular they are, how much they're trending. And it just gives you tons of information that you need if you were going to create products. Now, day 17 is where we got really serious with this, because there are trade show directories out there that you can subscribe to. They can cost like $100 a month. We wanted to put all the trade shows into SmorgDashboard. And there's some background to this. Several years ago, before the pandemic, I actually sold lists of trade shows. People who were selling on Amazon like to browse through trade shows and get ideas for what the most popular niches are, because people go there to buy and sell. It's where money's flowing. So we put 5,000 trade shows into this directory. That is 5,000 pages on a website. We built this in a day. We built a 5,000 page website in a day. And what you can do, you can browse it, you can search it, you can look by category. If we take the first example, Japan's food, you can see here it gives you information about this event. It gives you keywords. So you can see, okay, Japanese food. Oh, that's not bad. That's getting 201,000 searches a month on Google. It's popular. So you kind of know what to target here. It gives you KDP book ideas, product ideas, content ideas for anyone attending this trade show. So now we've built a 5,000 page website full of information here. I also gathered data from Meetup. And again, if we click on this, say, for example, arts and creative, let's take a look at ballet at the cinema. We have information about this. We have keywords. We have creator ideas. This is 6,500 pages. Now, imagine if we put this on a free site. Think about the SEO potential of 6,500 pages. And we generated that in a day. At this point, we realized we were sitting on superpowers, and we created, for example, this tarot card reader, which I absolutely love, and everyone keeps telling me how spookily accurate it is. So if we say begin your tarot reading, I'm going to choose 3 cards, past, present, and future, and I can ask a question. So I can say, what will make me happy this year? Begin reading, shuffling the deck, wants me to pick my 3 cards. Perfect. Oh, what will make me happy? Okay, so it gives us the 3 cards. You can click on these, you can study them, and you can get a deep reading on those cards. And here it is, the Oracle speaks. The cards paint a clear picture of a journey from isolation to community. This is so accurate because last year I didn't go anywhere. Here I am talking to you, and hopefully I will be out and about much more in the wild this year. But look at this, it has a detailed report, and here's where this tarot reading is not like any other, because it has the creative spark. It tells you what you can do as a creator that is aligned with your tarot reading. Pitch this, host a monthly ticketed online workshop where you guide a small group of creators through a visualization and collaborative brainstorming session. And it even spells it out. Each month has a theme. It tells me how I can bring my tarot reading to life, that I can go from being an individual to a community person. So this is some next level stuff. And we created this in very little time. This whole project has taken 6 weeks. So we also had astrology. We created that on the same day. We have this magic encyclopedia that is super detailed. I think it has 500, 600 entries in there that explain all the different niches in magic. We put in a faith day. The scripture vault has thousands of scriptures from different religions, how you can use those. The faith encyclopedia is super cute. It has Bible stories. It has stories from all major world religions. It has people, characters. We've got religious holidays. And then day 20. This is the last day that we've built so far. So now we're working on day 21. There's one more still to come. But day 20, we added in an emotion wheel. What you can do with this is choose an emotion like joy, and it goes into so much depth. The felt experience of joy. What are the iconic moments of joy in movies, in songs, in Pixar's Inside Out, Riley's winning hockey goal, Katrina and the waves, walking on sunshine, pure joy. It tells you about your senses. It tells you about joy in mythology. It tells you about what people who are feeling joyful will buy. It goes into the psychology of joy, how to work ethically with joy, the buyer profile of someone who is joyful, and on until we end up with these amazing suggestions. A joy spectrum palette poster. There's a product for you for Etsy. Huge. So there are actually 72 emotions you can explore in that. We also put in personalities, so you can browse different personalities, and the level of detail is just getting enormous now. So you've got the strengths, growth areas for someone with this personality type, how they buy, how they think, what their pain points are, what kind of journals they would like, and on until you end up with product suggestions. And there's so much more in here. We have hundreds of mental health conditions, chronic conditions. And in fact, someone contacted me about the chronic conditions and said, hey, I actually want to create for this condition. Please, can you add it? It's missing. We had it added into the database in literally minutes, a full fleshed out page on that condition. In fact, let's pick one. We'll do Addison's disease. This is pretty much a medical directory right here. Addison's disease. We've got an overview, the prevalence, myths and facts of that disease, therapies and treatments, coping strategies. But here's the thing, this isn't a medical encyclopedia. This is tailored for creators. It's not intended to diagnose your issues. It's intended to be a reference for people creating coloring books, reference books, how-tos, courses, anything like that, to find out how many people suffer from this disease, what they're thinking about. Even things like popular culture. One of the most famous confirmed cases was President John Kennedy. Amazing. I mean, that already opens up some ideas. And of course, here are some book ideas, product ideas, content ideas for how you can work with Addison's disease. For example, making a go bag specifically for people with this disease. So someone asked us to add a condition. We added it in, it took us minutes, and you get that much information. And not only that, each day we were adding these reports. So this one has 177 pages. And I do actually write the introductions myself, and I read through and curate everything. But these reports are primarily AI generated. Here's what's crazy. This is about 10,000 posts and comments from Reddit about neurodiversity. From that, I analyzed it. I found what are the conditions people talk about most, what are the top discussion themes, what gets the highest engagement. Amazingly, it was a thread about spoons and the texture of spoons, and just so on. I got all this information, analyzing data, and I did this with several Reddit topics, and in particular, I found disability really enlightening. What are the key concerns of people with disabilities? I used 9,000 data points, that's posts and comments, and found mobility aids, that's a thing, the US political situation, people are concerned about ICE raids, and so from this information, I've been able to extract what people actually want. Cane charms, 86 people liked a post that mentioned cane charms. I've never even thought about creating those as products. Wheelchair bags, spoke decorations, and then practical things like jar openers and so on. You can see that this is an enormous report. It is absolutely full of information, what people are talking about, what they're nervous about talking about. It is direct insight into Reddit, and I have actual quotes in there. And we did the same thing from neurodiversity. We could take conversations, see what the sentiments are in there, that people are saying, okay, I don't like it when people say you can cure your sensory issues or overcome them. Instead, it's navigate life with ADHD, for example. AI is reaching this place where you can analyze massive amounts of data in one go. Each section of this report analyzes 10,000 data points. This, just a few months ago, would have taken you so much research. And I really think about this because actually my dream is to do a PhD, but now I don't know. Because I've done 3 degrees all across very different areas, performance, an MBA, and then I did psychology in the pandemic. And now I feel like if I went back and did that psychology degree again, I have access to so much information. I can analyze huge amounts of information. And the crazy part is I am doing original research by doing this. I'm getting new insights. And I've actually been doing this on a lot of Reddits that I haven't even talked about yet. I have some reports stacked with insights that I can't wait to share. I just physically can't publish them, make videos about them, post about them on social media yet. Although that is obviously changing too with AI. So that is what is possible right now. We are now in February 2026 and everything is moving at light speed. I don't think this would have been possible just a few months back. That's enough about what we've been doing. Now I want to talk about you, because if we are building 10,000 page websites in a day, we built 116 tools in about 6 weeks, probably less than 6 weeks. Where are we all going with this? What is the future? Because everything is changing very, very rapidly. What is going to happen to programmers, to writers, to designers, creators? Well, we are clearly in a time of big, big change. So what do you do when you are in a time of change? Well, the time-honored business approach is to do a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So strengths and weaknesses are your personal strengths and weaknesses. I would say that Isaac and I have had a bit of a head start because we're data nerds. We know how to deploy software. We know how to handle security, all the nitty gritty. Like, this isn't something you can just say, oh, I'm going to vibe code this. We have woven our strengths into this product. So what you need to do is see where your strengths fit with the opportunities that AI is presenting itself. You look at yourself. You say, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I struggle with? And then you look at AI. What are the opportunities that are being presented by AI? What are the threats that are being presented? These are the 3 biggest properties I see of AI. First, you can produce content really, really quickly. Second, it is democratizing. Everyone has access to the same tools. Mark Zuckerberg was chatting about using Claude, for example. We all have access to Claude. At this point, we are on a fairly level playing field with big business. The third is that production is nearly free. It doesn't cost a whole lot to create something like this. Imagine for a minute that you go and you talk to a web design agency and you ask for a project like this. They're going to quote you 6 figures to do something like this. If you said, okay, I want you to build out this whole mental health thing for me, this is what I want, this is what I want. Without AI, the amount of work that would be involved in something like this is absolutely astronomical. Yet we built just day 20, we built that in a week. That's 11 different tools and each one is absolutely packed. So there's 3 things: fast content, same tools, and super cheap production costs. Well, those are both opportunities and threats. You now have access to the same tools as billionaires. However, some rando guy on the street walking past your house, he just has to walk into a library and he has access to those tools as well. So the question is, what are you going to do with them? Because we are all on this even playing field right now. And yes, it is a massive threat to the status quo, but it is also a huge place of opportunity. If you are bold, confident, and you build your skills, you have every opportunity here as well. The CEO of Microsoft's AI, Mustafa Suleyman, he has just said that white-collar tasks, the majority of white-collar tasks, are going to be fully automated within 18 months, possibly 12 months. Now, a lot of people freaked out. Bernie, who often has very interesting points, said there should be a moratorium on AI. I see a lot of my artist friends saying, ban AI, just stop using it. Guys, I love you, but this is not going to work. You can't ban it. There are multiple reasons why this is not going to happen. It can't happen. An AI ban cannot happen. One, because this is a global issue. You know, the second the US started investing huge amounts of money in AI, China brought out DeepSeek. Some of the Chinese models like DeepSeek and Qwen, super powerful. If the US stops building AI, do you think other countries are going to stop? It's the same on an individual scale. If people say we're not going to use AI, ban AI for ordinary people, do you really think the corporations or the government are going to give it up? Absolutely not. AI is power. It is absolute power. If you don't use it, if you choose not to use it, you are basically disarming yourself. And another reason why it's impossible to ban AI is that it's not even centralized. People are running local models on their own machines. So the genie is out of the bottle. It cannot be put back in. So what do we do with this? Well, you can go off grid, and that is valid. I'm not going to argue with that. If you can make handmade products, handwritten poems, books, whatever it is that you do, then that is awesome. But for the majority of work tasks, if you don't use AI, you are putting yourself at like a massive, massive disadvantage. It's like a tsunami is coming. But I do have some good news. Mustafa Suleyman, he was talking about white-collar tasks being easily automatable. He's talking about by-the-book tasks, things like accounting that have straightforward rules that can be followed. Any computer can do that now. I actually think people who are going to thrive the most are people who think a little more artistically and creatively. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So let's talk about what has value. And I want to get really nerdy here, and I want to talk a bit about artificial scarcity, because a lot of our economy right now is built on artificial scarcity. And a really key factor in that is copyright. And I think that copyright is under serious threat, possibly in the next decade. And this is why. There are two guys, Damian Reel and Noah Rubin. They're both musicians, one's a lawyer, and here's what they did. They generated every possible 12-beat melody that you can create. That is 68 billion melodies. They put those on a hard drive. Now, the Copyright Office has said that anything computer-generated is in the public domain. So you can't copyright computer-generated work. It goes into the public domain. So they effectively put every short melody into the public domain. And this was actually used successfully to defend Katy Perry, of all people. Now, this is very interesting because when you start thinking about the building blocks of information, you realize that nothing is infinite. There is a website called Library of Babel, or Babel, if you are US speaking, and Library of Babel is absolutely fascinating. It is inspired by a story from 1941 that described a hexagonal library full of chambers that housed every book there is. So you know the old thing of if you have enough monkeys and they type on typewriters, eventually you get the works of Shakespeare. And this is kind of the mathematical testing of this, because what Library of Babel does, it takes a hypothetical library with multiple hexagonal chambers. On every wall in each chamber, there are shelves. On each shelf, there are 32 volumes of books. In each book, there are 410 pages. And here's where it gets really interesting. Each page is 3,200 characters. Those characters are a combination of 29 characters. That's the 26 letters in the alphabet, plus a period, a comma, and a space. And each of those pages has a home in the library. And in fact, look, I'm going to show you this. If I search, I can type in up to 3,200 characters in here. So we could do Catherine. In fact, I'm going to do it like that. Catherine. We're just going to go crazy with this. And then what we can do is actually find the pages that say Catherine. Here it is. Look, here's a page that has my name in it that many times. Here's one with random English words. Let's take a look at that page. This is a page from a book in the Library of Babel, which is every page that can be generated with every combination of letters. This code here is where you would find this in the library. And in fact, you can go and see the bookshelf and find what else is on this bookshelf. So everything that can be written in a page can be stored in this library. Is that mind-blowing? Now, I hear math people saying, hold up, there must be billions of these pages. And you are right, it is beyond billions. It is billions of billions of billions of billions. In fact, the number of pages would actually have something like 6,000 digits in the number. Like, it doesn't even exist. It's such a big number. With computers the way they are, it is impossible to store these pages. These pages have not been published, which means that they're not in the public domain. So whatever you write, you can still copyright that information. It's not published anywhere. This is basically a smoke and mirrors. It's an algorithm that generates the page based on where it would be in the library. So this isn't storing those billions and billions and billions of pages, because at the moment it's impossible. Our hard drives aren't big enough. But this is where it gets really interesting, because if you're super old like me, you might remember floppy disks. Floppy disks had 1.44 megabytes of data on them. Now, for the princely sum of $609, you can buy this boy here, which is 28 terabytes. This is 18.9 million floppy disks. Whoa. Now, the wild card here is quantum computing. Now, quantum right now is pretty unstable. It's very poorly understood, but it's real. And quantum works with a system called qubits. Now, I'm not going to explain qubits because that's way above my pay grade. But what I will say is that I've worked on the math for this, and to store every page, 3,200 characters on a page, that's everything that can ever be written. It's like every parallel life. Like, imagine an obituary of everyone who has ever lived, could live, plus every obituary full of absolute nonsense, full of random characters. It has every cure for cancer. It has everything that could be written on a page. If you took all of that information and you translated it into qubits, it would be 21,000 qubits. Here's the thing. In 2023, IBM cracked 1,000 qubits. Last year, 2025, Caltech cracked 6,000 qubits. This is not science fiction. And here's the thing. If you think about information, everything is like this. It's just math and scale. For example, images are just hex codes for colors and pixels to say where those colors are placed. So it really comes down to everything just being numbers. So what AI is doing, and this is like the key thing, is that AI is scale. It is automation. It is being able to analyze millions of patterns, build millions of patterns. It's all a matter of scale, computing power, storage. The systems that we use now for artificial scarcity are being deconstructed. If you can generate 1,000 images in an hour or two, then where does that leave production designers? And the reason I say production designers is that they are skilled, but they are anonymous. They're not building a brand or a world around their designs. And that isn't a very strong position to be in with AI. What becomes really, really important now in adding value is that human aspect. And in fact, I would say there are two things that are really, really important now, and perhaps more important than ever before. The first is taste. What you are creating with AI or without AI, your taste is on show more than ever before. And this is where I think people who think artistically and flexibly are going to find that actually they have more skills of value in this climate that's emerging than people who are doing things by the book, because they have amazing taste. They have spent their lives honing their taste and their perspective and their artistic view of the world. And this isn't just me being motivational and like, oh, think like an artist and everything will be fine. I'm really grounding this on solid things like differentiation and value. I like to listen to Gary Moore. He's a blues guitarist. He died several years ago. And his songs always make me laugh because he uses the lyric "paid my dues" frequently in his songs. And I think he uses it because it rhymes with "played the blues." Like, people ask if I even paid my dues. That's why I played the blues. And I think this is what's hitting a lot of skilled people. It's like, hold up, I went to school. I have trained my art. I have spent years working on this. This is part of my identity to do this thing. And I think that is what we need to hold on to there. I think identity is actually your super weapon with or without AI. Because if everyone's producing tons and tons and tons of content, if your content stands out as being genuinely helpful or beautiful or connecting with people, then you are showing good taste. In a world full of content, people are going to seek the people with good taste. Now, here's another thing. When you demonstrate good taste consistently, then you generate trust. People trust you if you come back day after day with a consistent point of view, a consistent aesthetic, consistent advice, information, then people trust you. And that's really how community building works, which is vital now, like really vital. The way we survive this is by connecting and trading our taste with other humans. And here's something about people who think artistically. So a lot of people in business think very rationally. You know, it's like, how do we make this car go faster? How do we make the train go faster? It's like the old quote that's attributed to Henry Ford. I don't think he actually said it, but it's great. He said, if you ask the people what they want, they would say faster horses. The point is, you need that innovation to build something that's different, that's outside of what people are picturing right now. Because the majority of people just say, oh, this is currently a thing. Let's just do more of it. That's not going to work because AI can do that super, super easy. One guy who writes about this a lot is Rory Sutherland, who wrote the book Alchemy. And he looked at Eurostar, the trains that go under the Channel Tunnel. And he says, look, Eurostar engineers are spending billions trying to figure out how to shave a little bit of time off the journey, how to make the trains just a little bit faster. And he says, why not just take a fraction of that money and pay models to serve champagne on the trip, and no one will mind if it takes a little bit longer. And that's his kind of thinking of, are we even looking at the right thing? Is this really what people want? There are opportunities everywhere because everything is multifaceted. So his argument is that psychology can add just as much value as engineering. I also like his anecdote about shreddies. He said they had shreddies and they turned them 45 degrees and then called them diamond shreddies, and sales went up. I love stuff like that. And that doesn't go away with AI. We just now have more tools to play with creativity, to find new angles for our products, for our services, for our marketing, for how we reach people. To use a Doctor Who analogy, AI is like the sonic screwdriver. It's like a tool that can do everything. And we all have one. But here's the thing, the vast majority of people out there do not realize that they are holding a sonic screwdriver right now. You have a sonic screwdriver, but where are you going to point it? What are you going to do with it? And I think that AI amplifies creativity. I think it allows you to put your ideas out there much faster, to build them to a higher level, to do deeper research. I am just pushing AI to its limits, and I know Isaac is doing the same. We're kind of challenging each other every day, like, hey, can you do this? Can we add this to it? And we're finding that, yes, we can. And the AI of 6 months ago is not the AI of today. Things are really, really changing fast. But these things, taste, trust, curation, and creativity, remain the same. And I want to explore that a little bit because I think AI is the ultimate creative tool. And the other thing about having identity, branding, taste, is bringing people into your world. And that is a skill in itself. Like, for example, if you think about Trader Joe's, when you go to Trader Joe's, you know what to expect. Everything has this tiki vibe. The staff are super friendly. So you become loyal to it because it's a world that you want to be part of. In some ways, Starbucks is similar. It has its own world, its own language, its own visuals and style, the way the staff speak to you, the way you order your drinks. All of that is part of a world. And AI gives you immense world-building tools. So let's think about AI as a creative tool. One tool that I love for creativity is an acronym called SCAMPER, and it was created by a guy called Bob Eberly. And SCAMPER is an acronym, and all the letters of SCAMPER basically refer to a modification you can make to an object, a service, a concept, to make it something more creative. So it's substitute is the S, combine, adapt, magnify or minify, put to another use, eliminate, and rearrange or reverse. So those are the SCAMPER in SCAMPER. And I think magnify and minify are really interesting with AI. And this is where AI really shines, because if you want to make something bigger, that's super easy with AI. You can give it a sentence and say, from this sentence, write me a thesis. And it will write you a whole supporting thesis for your sentence. It can also do the opposite. It can minify. And this is what I've been doing with some of my reports, for example. I give it 10,000 data points on disability, and it can reduce that down to a few key issues and say, well, I looked at these 10,000 posts. These were the most important things people were talking about. So it can minify. It can take 100 pages of text, turn that into one key argument. And it can really do any of the other transformations. For example, Pride and Prejudice is in the public domain, the Jane Austen book. You can do pretty much anything you want with Pride and Prejudice. You can republish it, you can take quotes from it and sell them, you can make pictures of the characters. And what one person did with it was create Pride and Prejudice with zombies, which became a huge bestseller. This was before AI. Now doing something like that is super duper easy. You just need to do the curation and have the good taste to decide what is interesting, what is cool, what people want to buy. So AI is like this amazing creativity machine. I can say, okay, I want to do Jane Eyre in space. I want to do Romeo and Juliet at Mar-a-Lago. And now you're Leonard Bernstein or Baz Luhrmann. You know, you can remix these stories any way you want, and AI can help you do that. But you need to have the cool idea. So ultimately, things come back to taste. Now, I actually love using Google Sheets to brainstorm and think creatively. So I think you need a Google One account, which is $20 per month, but they have a free trial. You might also be able to do this with Google Workspace. Here's an example. What you can do with Google Sheets. If I click up there, I can say, give me a simple list of 10 things associated with springtime. Now, Sheets actually loves to go above and beyond, so let's see what it does with this. Great, okay, so it's given us 10 things. So sometimes you can insert those, sometimes you can just copy them and paste them into your sheet. Great, okay, so I'm going to get rid of the first row there, delete row. So now I have 10 things associated with springtime. Now, check this out. I love doing this. What you can do if you have Gemini enabled, you can do equals, and then you do AI. That's the magic thing. And then you're going to do parenthesis like that. Now, that's your AI formula there. It's super easy. Equals AI, and then parentheses. Now, in the parentheses, we're going to give it a prompt. And your prompt needs to be in quotes. So this is our prompt. We're going to say, for this topic, generate 5 printable ideas that I could sell on Etsy. And I want to give it the topic. So I'm actually going to put a colon. I'm going to finish the prompt. And then I'm going to put an ampersand. And I'm going to put A1. And you can see it highlights A1, which is that cell there. So we have the prompt in quotes. And then we have the little ampersand, which just makes whatever's in A1 part of the prompt. And if we want to add any more, you can add another ampersand and you can add more in quotes. the printables should be suitable for kids, or whatever you want to say there. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to delete that part and just keep it super simple. So I've got, for this topic, generate 5 printable ideas that I could sell on Etsy. And then it references that cell. So I'm going to hit enter and check it out. It's now generating. You now have 5 printable ideas: botanical wall art prints, printable flower seed packets, springtime floral planner stickers. Great. Okay, so if I click on that now, I can actually just drag that down the column, and that's going to create me a whole bunch of printable ideas. And that took, what, 30 seconds? So if you're not feeling creative, you can say, give me 10 niches, put them in your spreadsheet, and then say, now generate a bunch of ideas for me based off those niches. This is really awesome. Now you have tons and tons of printable ideas, so you can read through them and pick the ones that you like, that you want to develop. And here's where you get into AI inception. You could also copy this list into your favorite LLM like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, and you can say, pick the top 3 most marketable products from this list. And you can get really clever with this. So if I start another sheet, give me 10 household objects, like a spoon or a bowl. Perfect. So I'm just going to copy those, paste those into the spreadsheet there. Delete that row. Now I'm going to show you how using a framework can be super powerful with AI. So if we do equals AI, and then we say use the SCAMPER method to generate 7 creative ideas for this object, 1 for each letter of SCAMPER. This is the object. So I close my quotes, ampersand A1 is our cell. Close my parentheses. Perfect. So hopefully it's going to generate 7 creative things you can do with a plate. Look at that, it did it. Substitute, replace ceramic with lightweight, shatterproof carbon fiber. Combine it, added built-in digital scale to your plate. Great. So again, you can do this for all of these products. And now you're starting to generate new ideas for how you can make these products more interesting. And you can do anything with this. You could put in a list of holidays like Christmas, Easter, and then from this, you can make your AI prompt something like, give me 3 t-shirt slogans for car enthusiasts for this holiday, ampersand A1. And we can do the same for Easter as well, and so on. So this is a great way to brainstorm, and you can actually stack your prompts this way. So if you wanted to write a book, you could say, write me, I don't know, a Yeti romance. AI, give me an outline for chapter 1 of this book. And that's A6. There it is. And then in the next cell, you can say, continue the story. Continue this story with the outline of chapter 2. This is the previous chapter. And that automatically is referencing B6, which is this chapter. So now it needs to regenerate that. So let's regenerate that. So now we're building out these chapters for this book idea. And the crazy thing is you could do like 20 books like this. You could say, I don't know, mafia romance, hockey romance, whatever you want. And then you can select this chapter 1, chapter 2, just drag those down. And it's going to start generating chapter overviews for those books. So you can use this to build out all kinds of creative ideas. You can use this for your marketing campaigns. You can put in whatever it is you want to sell. And then in the columns, you can say, create an Instagram campaign, a Facebook campaign. You can build out a concept really well just using Google Sheets. Now, the tools that are becoming available to us as creators are changing by the day. As I record this, OpenClaw has become really popular. There's Manus, and these systems are agent-based. So an agent is really just an AI that can perform a particular task. And by putting all these different agents together, you can actually build some really cool systems. And this is where I think creative people can really, really shine, because you're still creating. You're just creating at scale. You're creating systems rather than creating one simple thing. So one of the earliest forms of AI that I think was super popular is Pac-Man. If you think about Pac-Man, it has 4 little ghosts. Now, the interesting thing about Pac-Man is the 4 ghosts all have different rules. One goes fast, one chases you aggressively, one does super random stuff. And that means that each game of Pac-Man that you play is different, because one of the ghosts always acts randomly. So it's always a different game when you play it. The AI always acts differently because of that random ghost. And there's a whole genre of video game called roguelike, where the dungeon or the space to explore is generated randomly each time. So it's like a new game each time you play it. This is very different from, say, Super Mario, where all the pieces start in the same place each time and move in the same way. So technically, you could always play Mario and play the same way every single time if you make the same moves. So these roguelike games are very interesting because they're generative systems. It is a system that creates a game for the player each time they play it. And this is the layer that we need to be thinking at now as creators, to think, okay, what is the system that I am building here? I'm creating, but I'm creating a system. So if we go back to SmorgDashboard, for example, I think about a real estate agent. It's like, okay, if a real estate agent wanted the kind of dashboards that we're building, what would be helpful to them? Well, maybe what they want is a system to assess each neighborhood that they work in. So they might look at schools, they might look at parks, they might look at healthcare centers, and they might give those ratings and then put that into a dashboard. And hey, if you're a real estate agent and you want something like this built, Isaac and I can build that for you. So give me a call. But think about this. It's a system. You're creating a system for people that's helpful to them. And this is where AI excels, because now these new opportunities are becoming available. In the past, it wouldn't have been worth it for a real estate agent to say, hey, I want this unique website that's going to have all this data, all this information on it. It's going to be 1,000 pages that talk about all the different things in my neighborhood. Now you can get someone like me and Isaac to come along and we can say, yeah, we can build that for you. Here you are. This is the tool that you asked for. In the past, that would have been prohibitively expensive, time-consuming, and just huge. Now these things can be done, and we've kind of proved that with SmorgDashboard. So we still need to be creative. We still need to find real problems that need solving, or we have to bring something new to the table, that element of world building, identity, bringing your expertise. And this is where we're going to have to adjust our thinking a little bit in the future. Because if you look at traditional capitalism, it's built on things like scarcity equals value, expertise equals value, labor equals value. Now a lot of those barriers are falling away. The cost of labor is falling away because this doesn't take a lot of labor. The cost of production is just coming way down. So what does that leave you with? Well, again, we return to taste and trust. Having good taste, which is understanding your audience, understanding who you serve and what they need, understanding the needs of your audience, the same thing that it has always been. And I always like to use Maslow's pyramid of needs to really go through that and say, well, what do people need? How do I meet their needs at each level of the pyramid that is within my industry? I like to look at that. So that's one thing, having taste. And your expertise, your life experience, your schooling, your education, those contribute to your good taste. So nothing is lost, nothing is wasted. And trust is the relationship you build with other people. And that is grounded on taste. Your trust is built by showing up and demonstrating good taste consistently. Things are definitely going to change. We started at the beginning with this, with look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Your strength is your creative thinking. It's your taste. It's your trust. Weakness is doing things by the book. That has to go. That thinking, that inflexibility, that's not going to help you in the future. That's going to put you in this danger zone. Because there are threats. There are definite threats. We are all holding the sonic screwdriver. Any single person now can probably compete with you on some level. They can go and research your industry very, very quickly. But you have experience. You have experience with people. You understand what people in your niche want. And that is going to be your superpower. You have your strengths. You have what you know, what you love. You have your taste. That is going to be your defense against the threat. And you have this opportunity. AI is a huge opportunity. It is a space for creative thinking. It is an amplifier for your creative ideas, as we have seen. We couldn't have built SmorgDashboard in this time frame 6 months ago. But now we can. It is an opportunity, and we are seizing it with both hands. We are playing with this. And guys, play. Play is so important. Play helps you discover your taste. Play helps you connect with other people, which builds trust. So play with it, explore it, use it. Don't give it up. Don't give away your power, and go build things. We talked about scarcity. The scarcity is finding something that you look at and go, wow, this was built just for me. This is awesome. There's people out there that are looking for that thing, and you can go create it for them, whether it's a service, a book, a product. You can create that thing that they are looking for. You now have superpowers. You have the skills to build for niches that previously it wasn't worth building for. It was too expensive. The niche was too small. Now you can make something wonderful for your people, for your tribe, for your crew. This is an amazing time. The key is just think at scale. Think in terms of systems. Think in terms of worlds. AI is good at this. And with your creativity and AI's power, you have superpowers. Go use them. All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed watching this video, please do give us a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss anything from us in future. Come and join our Facebook group, send us a message, support@tangent.rocks. We love to hear from you, and have an amazing week ahead. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.